Welcome, everyone, to the 18th Annual Buffalo International Film Festival. We're so grateful and honored to be here with our esteemed guest for the Buffalo's Brightest panel. But really quickly first, for our viewers online, I just want to acknowledge that we're here on Haudenosaunee territory and that we're all incredibly grateful to be here. So, Nyawa. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce our panelists. I'm going to sit down so you can see their lovely faces while I embarrass them and read their bios. Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here. So on the right, on the right and the left, depending on your perspective, because that's really everything in life, isn't it? We have the wonderful Sidney Flanigan. She is an actress and a musician. She's a Buffalo born and based actress and musician, and she made her acting debut in the acclaimed independent film Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, for which she received numerous nominations from the Critics' Choice Award for Best Actress, to the Independent Spirit Award for Best Female Lead. It was also screened and selected to compete for the Golden Bear in Berlin at the 70th Annual Berlin International Film Festival. She has received quite a bit of acclaim, maybe 45 nominations or so for that performance alone. In addition to Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, her growing filmography includes Rounding, Only the Good Survive, which was actually played here at BIFF last year and won, I believe, the Audience Award, if I'm not mistaken. It won an award. So there's more awards we should have added here. This year she opened up the fest with Eco Village, which was fantastic. And we actually had a panel right here called It Takes an Eco Village, where a big chunk of the Eco Village was here. Forthcoming are Line of Fire and Loving Day, just to name a few. And in addition to acting, Sidney sings and writes songs and fronts a dreamy punk band here in Buffalo called Star Juice, which also includes Corey Wilde on bass, Spencer Eck on drums, and Jeffrey Colson on lead guitar. So let's give her a quick round of applause. Yeah. Yes, thank you. In the middle, Croix. Okay, that's what I thought, but I just didn't want to mess that up. In the middle, we have Daniel Croix, who is a Buffalo-born actor. And he is known in film, television, and theater. He attended the Buffalo Academy for Visual and Performing Arts. He's best known for starring in Tyler Perry's The Oval on BET Network, where he just completed a production season. And he's also very well known for appearing in Manhunt on Apple TV+, Love, Victor on Hulu, and on the New York City stage in Much Ado About Nothing, the public Shakespeare in the Park. He is also a film director, and we're really excited. Later this evening, we're going to be showing Daniel's fantastic film, Huli, with another really wonderful film I love called The Soldier's Lagoon. His short film, Huli, is going to have its Buffalo premiere here tonight, as we mentioned, and it's been programmed in Oscar-qualifying film festivals like HIFF, didn't I see you in the lineup there? HIFF and others, as well as in museums and screenings across the U.S. and abroad. He just completed a director's cohort with the NAACP, where he's directed his next project, which will come out next year, and hopefully we'll have it here in Buffalo as well. So thank you, Daniel Croix. Yeah.
Right on.
Nice. Yeah.
Right on.
And last, but certainly not least, with over 3 decades in the entertainment industry, Patrick Gallo has established himself as a consummate actor on stage and screen. He trained in acting, musical theater, and dance at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in NYC, setting the stage for a dynamic and accomplished career. Gallo's talent has been seen in numerous television shows, films, and theatrical productions, making an impact on both the big and small screens. Notable recent roles include Detective John Tagliani. Yeah?
Taglioni.
Taglioni. I'm
Yeah.
Italian. I actually am going to get kicked out of the club now. Taglioni in the Emmy Award-winning series When They See Us, directed by Ava DuVernay. Okay. And the character of Tony Jack in Martin Scorsese's critically acclaimed film The Irishman, as well as in The Offer, directed by Dexter Fletcher, where he masterfully portrayed Mario Puzo, the author of The Godfather. Gallo's lifelong ambition to create and perform his own one-man show has come true on stage. Sadly, it just wrapped yesterday.
Yeah, it just closed last night.
It just closed last night.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that we'll get a revival here, maybe in March for my birthday.
Possibly.
Private show?
Possibly.
Private show?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Private public. So unfortunately that closed, but hopefully we'll see more of that soon. The performance exemplifies his unyielding commitment to love for the arts. Away from the spotlight, Gallo cherishes his family life with his wife, Laura, whom he first met in kindergarten. I know, isn't that adorable?
True. It's very
and
true.
And she is
yeah.
lovely. Hi, Laura, wherever you are.
I love that this is the bio for the show.
Yeah.
You know, for my one-man show.
Oh, is this not the one you wanted?
No, it's fine.
Okay, my bad.
It's completely fine. It's just
He
funny
also,
hearing it, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He also acts in a lot more things. They're not in here, like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's true.
You can see his butt in a gown, if I'm not mistaken.
The Deuce.
The Deuce.
That is, yes, you can see me fully nude in The Deuce.
So we'll be showing clips of that at the end for those that are interested. Luca, his son, is also amazing. And yeah, his mother, Lucille, is an inspiration.
This is all show stuff, and she is still an inspiration.
She is an
Yes,
inspiration.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you all so much for listening to me learn to read on the internet today.
You did really
and
good.
Daniel Croix, I thought that's how you said it, but I used to call you Henderson back in the day, I believe. Yeah, so I got a little confused. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I also just want to point out that Patrick is a Choice BIFF alum. He just wrapped up the Disinvited, and he has performed as an off-screen artist and had a film shown, Simon, Son of Simon, starring Luca
Son
as
of
well.
Simon, yes.
And he's also a post-conceptual artist, so you can ask him about that some other time. But I would love for you all to speak, because we've heard a lot of me, and that's too much. So maybe we could start with Sidney. Do you want to just mention what film you have in the festival this year, talk a little bit about Eco Village, your role there, and then we could go to Daniel. You could talk about Huli that you directed and you're in, and Patrick, Disinvited, a little bit,
So the project I have in the festival this year is called Eco Village. It's a project I worked on about 3, maybe 4 years ago. So a lot of it is pretty hazy at this point. It's pretty surreal to see all the people again. And it was a wacky, challenging project, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Awesome. Well, I think you were magnificent in it. So did a lot of people. So thank you. Daniel, tell us about Huli.
Yeah, so the project's playing in HIF that I'm a part of is Huli. It is my directorial debut and my first time sort of stepping behind the camera in a more serious way. It was created in Hawaii with community, friends, family, and it's a boxing drama that also asks some deeper questions about history, friendship, background, and ancestors. So it was a really beautiful collaboration and definitely a passion project, and I'm just so excited that it's here.
I am so excited too. I love that one. It's one of my favorites. Thank you, Daniel. And Patrick, tell us a little bit about The Disinvited.
The Disinvited, directed by Devin Lawrence. Extremely talented guy, great human, very creative. So this was kind of an interesting project to be a part of because, we worked together on other things, and sort of toward the end of the project, and I was in New York and he was in LA, and he wanted me to shoot the film, and we could never kind of bring our schedules together to make it happen, and I was working on other things, and it was just not meant to be at that time. And when he finished it, he had said, listen, I got to figure out a way to get you in the film, so do this VO. And it's basically about a guy and his relationship with his therapist, of whom he leaves constant messages for, which you just don't do with your therapist. And so I played his therapist, and I just kind of, did this little bit, this voice cameo. And then when we finished, a couple of months later, he said, I want you on camera. how can we do it? And he said, I think I want to do a whole credit sequence so we can finally see the therapist and you're actually returning one of the messages. I was in California shooting something else, and I was working with the crew that we always shoot with together. And he said, what if I send you a script, and when you fly to LA and get to the hotel, if you can just have the entire crew come into your hotel and turn it into an office and shoot this scene really quick while I'm on FaceTime. And that's how we shot it. So I landed, I went to Santa Cruz, went into the hotel, my entire crew came over, we just emptied out the hotel room, we shot it. He was directing me from FaceTime, and we put it all together, and then it became the end of the film, the credit sequence. So it was, a very interesting way to be a part of the film, but I was glad that we were able to, squeeze it in, because we always wanted to work together, and it was like we kind of forced it. And it worked.
Well, and you were telling me something, you've worked together in the past as well on another project, or?
Yeah, well, we work together. We're both editors and producers and directors of a TV show on HBO Max and Discovery Plus called Ghost Adventures.
Yeah.
So we have worked together for 10 years, and, usually it's remote because I was in New York and he's in LA, and we're just always kind of chatting on the phone or via email or, but yeah, so that was what we had always worked on. And then, oddly enough, I was shooting The Offer in Los Angeles, and I had reached out to an Airbnb, and then I got a message back that was like, Patrick? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, it's Devin. You're trying to rent my house. And I was like, oh my God. And then the next thing you know, I went to LA, I was shooting The Offer, and I moved into his back house for like a couple of weeks. Oh, wow. And that was like a fun coincidence. But yeah, other than that, we work on the show, and I'm sure we'll work on something in the future. But yeah, we've developed quite a friendship.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And he's a really, really talented guy, just a great artist.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's very lovely.
Yeah,
he's a wonderful person.
He is, and really good looking.
He's so good looking.
Really thick hair.
Yeah, it was really hard to talk to him and not look at his hair.
I know.
It's so thick. Anyway.
And a great musician.
We could obviously go on and on about.
Go on and on about
Devin's hair, who's not here.
He's
not here. Just so the audience knows, I am not facing you, so I will look back every now and then. If you want to say something, cue. I'm obviously someone you want to make it obvious to. But yeah, one thing I love kind of hearing throughout all of this in different ways is how important community is to making good art, and how important things like trust and having a great rapport and being able to have, generative exchange where people are both giving and receiving. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about your processes? Not even necessarily this film that you're showing in this fest, but other films, like maybe, talk about some experiences you've had where you felt like that sense of community has really helped you to kind of build out your project and make it something really magical and unique. I guess, what's a favorite project you've worked on? And I'm assuming that community is part of it. I heard a lot of it in your answer, Daniel, so maybe tell us a little more about Huli and, your friends and family there, and how you made this amazing piece. It's so gorgeous, and it's just so, rich. The landscape is so rich. I mean, Hawaii is amazing. It's one of the most incredible places I've ever had the privilege of going. And it's your home, if I'm not mistaken, most of the time. So do you mind speaking a little bit about maybe how the landscape, the community, all that kind of brought together the sort of magic that you made?
Totally. I think community is, as you said, where all of the brilliance in the arts comes from. I mean, you have a band, you did a one-man show, but I'm sure it wasn't by yourself, right? There are collaborators in even a one-man show.
As much as you want it to be.
As much as you may want it to be.
Every aspect of it creatively, but yes.
Yeah, totally. So
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
With Huli, but also with every project I've ever been a part of, it thrives or falls apart based on the nature of the collaboration and how well it goes. So I think, I'm excited that in smaller films or indie projects, you kind of have a new investigation of how you can collaborate. I mean, there are larger scale systems where a lot has been figured out. Even then, though, you know, film is amazing because it's always being designed with every project. Like, the special effects team for Dune isn't going to look like the special effects team for The Mummy, or, you know, like every single different project has its unique collaborations. And for Huli especially, it was just a community work. I mean, I found myself living in Hawaii for love. I never expected to live there. I knew that through COVID and strikes and everything, there was like an impulse to create, and I knew that I needed to listen sensitively to the community that was there. So a lot of the writing, I mean, the writing process was so collaborative. I would talk with people. I would sit and have coffees with like 20 people, and like I just tried to listen to like what was coming up so that I could be a little bit in some way of a vessel for the moment of time. And especially with Hawaii and the history of extractive film practices that don't highlight or involve the people who live there, because it's so frequently used as a backdrop, I just knew we were going to do something different. Like, it didn't make sense to perpetuate that kind of practice there. So it was a community work of, you know, even like bringing my neighbors into it, and casting was super like on the ground, and just people around like on Instagram. Like, it was just very community focused. Yeah.
Absolutely. It comes through.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was really great. I got like so lost in what you were saying, I almost forgot what I was going to say. But no, I was thinking about like something I've always thought about whenever I've worked on a set is it kind of reminds me of like summer camp. Even though I've never been to summer camp, but it's what I imagined it would be like. Because like you meet this like large group of people who you spend this like concentrated amount of time with, and like you spend all of this time together, and then like it's almost like human connection happens like at a like rapid pace. And I remember like something that felt especially interesting for me was one of my favorite projects I actually worked on was called Only the Good Survive, which played at the film festival last year. I unfortunately couldn't be here in any official capacity due to the climate of the time, but it was this wonderful, wacky film I worked on in Texas, directed by Dutch Southern, and it was really, really cool. But the weird thing for me is, so like, this is kind of personal, but like 2 days before I went to shoot that movie, I decided I was gonna get sober, and I went to like a meeting like the day before I flew out, and so like I got there and I met my cast members, and I was like, hey guys, like, do you want to go to the Denny's by our hotel and like get some milkshakes? And then I was like drinking milkshakes with them, and I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna be super honest, I just met you, but I'm going through some weird stuff right now. And I told them all about what was happening, and they were like, we got you, man, like we're here for you. So I spent my first month of sobriety in Texas with like a bunch of strangers, but like they were really my rocks for that first month. And it's crazy, and we made this like super weird, awesome movie, and like it's forever like associated with like one of the most pivotal moments, like growth moments in my life as well. And it's just so cool that like all these artists like can make something together, but there's also all these like other connections that are happening behind the scenes, and I just think that's wonderful.
It is when it works out. It's pure magic. It truly is.
Yeah, and the beauty of how like whatever is like around a project or kind of like the backstage of it is a part of it. Like whether you realize it or not, when you're watching a film or watching, you know, any piece of art, there's this presence of all of the stuff that was going on. Like your journey through that is affecting the film because it's all osmosis. So
Right.
yeah. Also, I just want to acknowledge that we went to high school together. Like
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
You
that
did?
was like
Really?
we both went to the performing arts high school. So talking about community, like we grew up around like all of these artists, and like I'm sure there was a lot of osmosis around there too.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's an incredible school for those people listening online. Yeah.
It is.
Look
It
at what
really
happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a general way, I mean, thousands of stories, and I've been working, I'm assuming, longer than you guys in the industry, just and not in the industry, just in the world of art, and which is what I continue to do. But yeah, there's nothing more beautiful than, meeting someone and knowing that you're going to go down this road of creativity and art together. And there's an immediate trust, and there's an immediate acceptance, and there's an immediate openness, and there's this kind of immediate, like, there's nothing we can do that's wrong. We can just look at it, and we can tweak it, and we can change it. And there's this connection, and there's a protectiveness between you. And because you're making something, and it's delicate, and it's beautiful, and it's going to make people feel a different way. And whether someone hates it or loves it or doesn't even know what to make of it, it's like you're giving something. It's charitable. It's something that's charitable. And that never, 30 years that I've been working with so many beautiful, wonderful people, and there's nothing more exciting than sitting with someone and figuring it out and going through things creatively, and as actors going through things emotionally, and it's such an exciting process. And it shows you colors. Almost every single project, some kind of color emerges that I've never seen before, and in my heart and in my soul and in my mind. And it's a unique relationship that you share with these people. And then you leave and you work on another project. But there's that special seed between you two that is that of the artist, and the creativity and the purity that is being an artist and being creative. And at every level, whether you're directing, you're cinematographer, you're a painter, you're a muralist, you're an actor, it's all a gift. And I think the thing that I'm very grateful for is that I've never seen it in any other light than I get to get up in the morning and think, how am I going to see the world today? How am I going to write about it? How am I going to film it? And that is just, that's magic. That's the closest for me that you could get to experiencing like true organic magic. And this is what, we all do this, and clearly you can hear the passion in them, and it's real and it's true, and they love what they do in music and performance. And that's just a really, really poetic life to live. It doesn't have anything to do with fame and money and all this. Can I swear?
You can. We're not allowed on the TV
And
because we do
all
here.
this bull. It's just not, it's about creating something. And anyway, so yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I remember reading something about like that Vonnegut wrote, or that's misattributed to him on the internet, where it was like, the humanities are not a way to make a living, but they're a way to make meaning out of your life. And to me, that's what art is,
Yeah.
And I think you're all like really interesting people to have together here, because not only are you Buffalonians, which, we're big on community here, but also all of you have many roles as artists. You have different methods of making. You're not only performers, you're performers. And do you, maybe Daniel, start with you, since you're going to screen tonight, want to talk a little bit about when you're performing two different roles. You're in the film, but you're also directing yourself. And we at BIFF, we can't understand this concept because we always just stick to one role, and we're very regimented. But I know that happens in creative stuff sometimes.
Well, I will say that I've checked out your website, and you're an artist too, so you kind of do, you do a lot of stuff, all right? So I just want to shout out your art too. Yeah.
Thank you.
No,
That's very kind,
at
Daniel.
BIFF, we only BIFF. But no, I think I think it's all the same, actually. It's like, I love what you said about point of view and perspective, and how, for whatever reason, we're wired to wake up and, instead of accept life as it is every day, to keep a space of wonder of what life can be, and a space of even reflection or archive or processing of what is happening around us. You can kind of go on autopilot and say, this is my day, or you can question it and make a space and build community of what could the day be? And so I think that that's what it is that we do. In terms of the craft though, acting, directing, producing, all of these things, you just learn more as you go, right? I'm a more experienced actor than I am a filmmaker. So I know that the best way to get better is to do it again and again and again and again, and to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And I think that, I just feel grateful to be able to open the door to that process. I don't know. What about you in music? Like, how do you feel like it ties in with your acting? Or
You do music sometimes in the films, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because like over the years of like being in the industry, I feel like I still don't know how to talk about acting. Like I could talk about the creative process of music all day, but I still don't know how to talk about acting, which gives me such like imposter syndrome about it.
But isn't that like, yeah?
Yeah, because I'm just like, I don't really know like how to, because it was like never really like my life goal, so I didn't like study it or like, look at other people and think like really think deeply about it. Like, what is it that they're doing? And like, and like develop this like deep admiration for the craft. Like, even though I do have an admiration for it and like I look at other people, I'm just like, dang, that's really cool what you're doing. But I never really, I have this like huge imposter syndrome because I'm very much like, I get attached to a project. I read the script maybe once and then I show up and then I'm just kind of like, what are we doing today? And then I'm just like, okay, I'm ready. Like, and then I just kind of like do it. And the first time I ever did press, I like kind of said that, and the publicist was like, "You can't say that," and it was like, "You have to give like an answer," and I was like, "Sorry." So here I am, just saying like, but I don't know. I feel like
Yeah. No, listen.
Yeah, right.
I don't
Is
think
the
I'm.
publicist around?
Yeah.
no,
She's
that
like,
was
yeah,
a
right,
publicist for that film,
Yeah.
not for me. I could not afford a publicist, but
I
don't know.
love your honesty. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Once you start talking, it's amazing. Actually.
Can I also
That's
just
kind of
say-
like what I'm going for. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
can I also just say though that is a valid process that is very
Yeah.
interesting, and like there is no one way. Like there's no one way to approach
No.
any of what we
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And so if
Yeah.
that's where you are in your craft and it's working really beautifully, like
I
I
appreciate
think
that.
that's no, I think it's cool. Like yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think of like I've gotten very into like chess recently,
Oh.
and I was like learning
Oh.
like there's some people who like to play very like they learn all the theory and they read the books, and some people are like more intuitive players, and I'm like I like to think maybe I'm like that. I don't know.
No, I think you're very natural on camera.
And sorry, you have a question.
We have a question. Yeah.
So my question was, music your first concentration of study? Did you intend to be a musician?
Yeah.
And is that what you like studied at performing arts, or is that where your
Yeah.
energy and your aspiration and hopes were?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been very music oriented. Like my dad was in a punk band when I was growing up, and I was just surrounded by like music culture. And then I picked up music myself at a very young age and haven't really stopped doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's an amazing musician. Many instruments, but is it fiddle or violin?
Yeah, that's what I studied at performing arts.
Yeah.
But mainly I'm like a singer-songwriter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to maybe talk about how you fell into acting? Because I think there's some interesting connections there, and I keep thinking about, and thank you for that great question. I keep thinking about seeing Scott Cummings last night. And
Yeah.
then you got to think about,
Yeah, because it's weird because I kind of like stumbled into it on accident, but like it was kind of a whole bunch of events kind of coming together. But Scott Cummings, who is Eliza Hittman's partner, I met when I was 14 years old here in Buffalo at this. It's like, this is a longer story, which I will not get into, but I was 14 and I was at a Juggalo wedding. If you don't know about Juggalos,
Yeah.
they're like fans of Insane Clown Posse, which is like this weird, interesting subculture.
culture. Yeah.
So yeah, not weird. I don't know.
It's its own
But like,
culture.
yeah. But so I was at this wedding, and Eliza was visiting Scott that day while he was like shooting, because he was shooting a film called Buffalo Juggalos, and she like met me and was like, "What is this girl doing here?" I also was wondering the same thing, but she added me on Facebook, and she actually tried to get me involved with another film with hers at the time when I was still like 14, and I was going through a lot of stuff and wasn't really available. And then fast forward to like many years, I was like 20, and I got an email from Scott like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but My partner Liza's making this film, and I was like, I'm not an actor. I'm okay, thanks. And he was like, well, like, you could, it's kind of, it's performing. You already perform, and and then he somehow managed me to convince me to talk to Eliza, and then Eliza was like, well, you could just read the script. And then I read the script, and next thing I know, I was on a plane, and it all just happened so fast. But I mean, I was genuinely really, really, really drawn to Eliza's story. Like, there was just an incredible magnetism that I could not resist. Once I was around Eliza's energy, it was impossible to ignore. So that's kind of how I got involved with it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a wonderful film, and unfortunately timely still.
Almost more.
I know.
More timely now than when it came out, it feels.
It's so unfortunate. Do you maybe? I know, Daniel, you've been acting forever, and I'm assuming you too, Patrick. But
Yeah,
how did
30
you?
years.
How did you get involved in this kind of performance? And yeah.
Well, I did in high school. I was asked by a teacher to audition for cabaret, and I loved the idea of being able to tell my friends that I had rehearsal.
Wait, what does that mean?
Exactly. I was like, oh, this could be cool. Because then my
okay.
friends are like, hey, you want to hang out? And I'd be like, no,
I'm busy.
I have rehearsal. Rehearsal. And it's like, yes, I'm doing something very important. I'm rehearsing. And I loved the idea of that. So I did. I auditioned based on the concept that I could tell people I had rehearsal. I did not know that when I was looking out of a little corridor, a little door, a little window, stage left before the very first performance. And I looked out the window and I saw my mom and my dad and my cousins and my friends and teachers and strangers. And a lot of these teachers were the ones that were, kind of wouldn't allow me to have a voice, that put me in a corner, that didn't think I had anything interesting to say and didn't think I was going to really go anywhere in life. And there was a devaluing feeling that I got from these teachers. And they were all in the audience, and I looked out, and they were all staring at that stage waiting for the show to begin. And it was every single person, this whole keyboard of personalities in my life. And they were focused on one thing, and it was whatever's going to happen on that stage is the most important thing in the world. And getting hit in the heart with a lightning bolt wrapped in silk. I was like, this is an incredible feeling, and I want to do this. I want this feeling forever. And that was it. And I performed that show, and I was just on the lookout for, how do I study theater? How do I do this? And then I auditioned. I'd gotten word that there was a school in New York, and I auditioned, and I got in. And my mother could not afford to send me to the school, and she said, you can try to save some money, and maybe we can do it. And then when it came time to make a deposit to go to school, she said, you did it. You saved up the money to do it. And I was exploding. I thought, I'm moving to New York City to be an actor? This is incredible. And then a couple of months later, I found, and we were broke. We had nothing. And I found out a couple of months later that my mother secretly borrowed $5,000, paid the deposit, and it was right after my father died. We were alone. And she, sacrificed. She left herself in debt and alone so that her baby could go to New York and fall into the unknown.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Mom.
that was it. Yeah, and that was it. Thank you, Mom. And that was it. And then every single experience that ever happened to me in New York, every single interaction that I had that moved me emotionally, the first thing I did was I picked up a payphone and I would call my mother and we would cry about it. And that happened all the way up until 1 year ago when she passed away, my beautiful mama.
I know, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But
I love how much you love her, though.
I
it's
do.
so beautiful.
And she was an amazing woman, and she was in all my films, and she was so supportive, and
Damn, you're good.
and I had a wonderful life with her, and she was 89, you know, and even when I was in the midst of my life in New York, she moved there for 5 years. And you know, she was in every single theater. I mean, if there was no one in that theater, she was in that theater. You know, and she was, you know, on watching my stuff on TV and in commercials and films, and she was more proud of me than anyone, and I could cry with her all the time, you know, and I miss her very much, and that was, you know, that's my, you know, and even to this day, you know, I know that, you know, anyway, she was a force in my life, and she supported me, and you know, the beautiful thing about it is, when you go into this life, you're gonna have a lot of people doubting this ridiculous path that they would see as ridiculous. And there was not a single moment in my life that my mother said, don't you want to have something to fall back on? She believed in my art before I even knew what that was.
Oh, wow.
And that gave me the strength to never have anything to fall back on. I needed nothing. You know what I mean? I needed nothing, because if it didn't work, well, then maybe the next, and work meaning if I wasn't able to put the kind of emotion I wanted into something and it turned out the way, well, then I do it again. I do something different.
Yeah.
There was nothing to fall back on. Art just has had me floating for 30 plus years, you know? Yeah.
Still floating.
Still floating.
Right upstream, too. That's
Still
so beautiful.
floating.
Yeah.
You made, just because no one can see the audience, every woman in the audience right now, or non-binary person, is crying. And, yeah. And the men, too. And I think, yeah. I lost my mom like 18 years ago, and it's still like yesterday sometimes. Like, someone that loves you like that.
Yeah.
Shout out to the moms. You're amazing. There's no love like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel, so after the Beatles played, do you want to come out and learn the ukulele on stage? No, I'm joking. That was just very emotional. Do you even remember the question?
I don't know what
No, I
we're
know our
talking about.
question.
Okay.
Well, I think we're
your
talking
first
about like our
time.
origin story.
Yeah, your origin story. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just really spaced out, I think. I was really imaginative. And I was always like, I relate to what you said about like sitting in school and being just like a little like I was always like imagining other things. And I loved it. I loved like the first time my parents took me to a theater. My dad, also speaking of parents, like my parents are here right now, which I'm so grateful
Give
for.
them a round of
love
applause.
that.
Good job.
Like that's
parents.
so it's so amazing that they had the imagination to open my imagination. Like I love that I love that someone just saw you and was like, hey, want to be in a movie? And then you're like, sure, I guess. Because sometimes it really does. Like I had this teacher, Lorna Hill, here, who saw things in me before I saw them in myself. So like maybe some teachers would see like a spacey kid who seems to have his head in the clouds and seems to be imaginative and just very chatty. But like she saw me and was like, oh, there's something in that. Like there's some there's some energy or some vibe inside of that could like be awesome on stage or in a story. And so, you know, it helps when people see that in you. And so, you know, like my parents were into the arts and very creative, which I really appreciate. My dad is a musician, and my mom always loved theater. And we went when I was very young, and I remember like, it was like some fantasy show or something, and like a boat came on stage or something. Like there was some set piece, and even when I was a little kid, I was like, that should be that way. Or like, I just like I always had something to say about everything, you know? Yeah. So then my mom put me in a play when I was young, and I think I liked it. I had crushes on so many people, and like a lot of like middle school, high school theater was like following like my heart. Like, oh my God, like I have a crush on this person. Like, I hope we get to be in the play together. Like, you know, so like, yeah. So I think it was like really normal stuff I was following that sort of ricocheted into, oh wow, like this can be a life. Like this can be a way of being, a way of living, a way of experiencing. and I just cherish it every day. I'm just so grateful
Right on.
that my parents didn't say, stop it. They could have just
Yeah.
could have totally just been like, oh, like that thing you're into, like, don't do it. But even if they did say stop it, as so many do, we all find our way. Like so many artists find their way in unexpected ways.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And come back around in a circle.
Oh yeah. And you like
So-
quit. Anytime I've ever been about to quit or like be like, oh, maybe I should do something else. I don't get that close, but everyone has like a season where they're like, is this sustainable? Like, is this what it is? Like,
yeah.
Or a bad experience.
or is this
and
or a bad experience? Like
Yeah.
every time like something happens, it's like keep going. Like every time some door opens or like some person is in my life that you just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I also just want to go back to Lorna for a minute.
Yeah.
I didn't know her as well as you, but I did when I worked at Squeaky Wheel. And you have made a film before. It's one of my favorites. That was in our 30th anniversary show. Partially, I love Lorna, but it was fantastic. Daniel actually made a documentary about Lorna that was like 20 or 30 minutes long.
Yeah,
when
it was
he was
just
like
like a 20-minute doc. It's, like,
15 or
crazy.
16 years old, and like it was amazing. I remember seeing her see it like at the opening and like tearing up and knowing she had seen it, like because at that point it was an anniversary show, right? So
Yeah.
it's older work being curated in, and seeing her like tear up again, and it's just.
awesome.
And I also want to just say, yeah, shout out to Lorna and her
Yeah.
people, because
No, she's passed on too, and but again, from the other side, here all the time.
Yeah.
Like you feel the presence. I'm sure you feel the presence
Absolutely.
every time.
Absolutely.
It deepens your relationship to your
Yes,
work. And it,
yes.
also my grandmother, Clarita Del Henderson, huge influence in my life, loved theater, was like kind of obsessed. Would just come to every show, like was so into it. And so it's like those people who we
Yeah.
carry with us and who really,
Believe in us.
believe in
Just
us,
believe
but,
in us,
but
yeah.
also are in that special experience of, especially with acting, there is this metaphysical property where you're letting go of yourself and letting something else open up, like a character starts to come through, or like as you experience, it's just a presence or an impulse of, there's something like being let go, there's something being invited, and that process is, as you said, it's magical, So I just
Yeah.
I love the presence of like the people who may not be here, but are here through what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
And I just want to just a shout out to teachers in general.
Oh, yeah.
Like my experience, and I think a lot of people's experience, is that 99% of the teachers that you're going to interact with, you're not going to feel inspired by. You're going to feel pressured by. They're going to give you a lot of anxiety, as a child to do this academic work and to really add a really kind of negative angle to how you're moving forward. But there's that tiny, if you're lucky, there's that tiny little, spark of a few teachers, and
Who
they
see
can
you.
change your life. Like when I auditioned for Cabaret, I didn't do it out of my own interest. It was a teacher who came to me and said, "I think you might like this. You've got it. You might be an asset." Right? And that was, he did that to me. And then when I went to community college momentarily, only because I knew I could get free theater there, and I completely blew off everything as far as academics were concerned, and then failed out of community college and ran to my theater teacher and said, "Hey, they kicked me out. I'm out of here. How do I get free theater? We have no money. How do I do it?" And you know what she said? "Come back, come in the side door, sneak in. You can continue studying with me." And it's those teachers that look at you and go, "You know what? There's something in you. And I don't care what the rules are. I'm going to try to fuel that for you." And it's like, it's just such an inspiration. And that's the thing. There's just a very few teachers that you're going to, a handful, and they're going to change your life. And you'll think about them for the rest of your life,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
and that's special. That's special. Thank you, teachers that I liked. Thank you to the ones I
both
liked.
of you. You know who you are.
Although I like it when the teachers that I didn't really like now reach out. And they're like, "I saw you in this. You were so wonderful." I'm like, "You hated me.
Yeah.
You
made
hated
me
it.
cry. Sit in the
Yes.
corner.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The best revenge is doing well.
It's true. And I do think
yeah.
that the creative kids tend to get in trouble because we don't fit in boxes very well.
Not at all.
And, the way academics roll out until you get to college and university here is about making you try and fit into a box and learn a certain way of being in the world. And if you're not that type of person, it doesn't,
Right.
yeah. Hopefully we'll evolve. Well, I want to mention we've got about 10 minutes left in the panel. And so if anyone has questions, please let me know. I'm curious, though, all of you are from Buffalo. The ecosystem here is changing, right? When you started here, Patrick, there wasn't really much of a film industry. We could all point to The Natural, right? And to these independent films,
Yeah.
art films. We have a very rich experimental art history here.
Yeah.
Stano, Woody Vasulka, Tony Conrad, the teacher that believed in me the most, and I carry with me and start to cry when I think about him.
Yeah.
So glad I'm not on camera right now. But it's such an interesting place, and arts are such a huge part of it. But the film ecosystem has really kind of developed and grown quite a bit. And y'all have been around the block or the globe, so what do you make of all this? What was it? Do you see this as somewhere where you might come back and work in the
Yeah.
future? It's
Oh,
so different,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely would. And I'm always trying to. I never really experienced the theater world here or the film world here when I was here. I left and just went to New York, and that's where everything kind of emerged for me, and that's the garden I was in, and in LA. Now that when I come back here and I try to spend more time here, as much time here as possible, it definitely has grown. There's definitely more awareness and care and community around the arts, and this is such a beautiful city architecturally. I mean, there's so many places to shoot, aside of the new film studio, but every neighborhood is a story in itself that should be on film, and so it's a very special place, and I think it's getting better and better, and they're embracing the arts more and more, and I hope that it keeps continuing to progress, because the arts are, to me, and I think that we'll all agree, the arts are the jewel. They are the most important thing we have.
In the city of Buffalo.
Absolutely.
Always.
Everywhere.
I would say always.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, of course, in the city of Buffalo. But the arts are the most important. Of course, are the first thing to get cut, which is insane.
Yeah. No, it's true. Well, if you can't
But
calculate the value of something, it doesn't
Exactly.
really fit into a capitalist system very well.
yeah. But I'm trying to get a feature film made here now. I have another friend and another friend and another friend. But I'm going to be directing a feature, and 90% of that film is going to be shot here in Buffalo. 10% in New York, and 90% of it in Buffalo.
Awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
and
That gets
yeah,
claps.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. And in another film that I'm attached to, I mean, there's a lot. And films, it's like we could be shooting it next month or in 7 years.
Yeah,
no
that's true.
idea. But the focus is like, let's make them here.
Sweet.
Let's make them in Buffalo.
I actually just worked on a short here last year.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
I
pretty
love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good one, too.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Or any other comments on how much everything's changed? I know that was a weird kind of nebulous question.
It was,
Yeah.
but it was good. And you just wander. We all just
I
wander.
do. I know. It's bad.
Well,
I'm like,
that's good.
Where are we
It's
going
good.
now?
I would like
you're-
to just say that having lived in other places and worked in many different cities, I feel really grateful for the arts ecosystem that is here, and I realize how privileged I am to have had it, and that I'm really happy to hear and witness that things are evolving. I think things like the Buffalo International Film Festival are crucial. I
Absolutely.
think things like Squeaky Wheel, Hall Walls, all of the theater companies here that really keep a vivid arts ecosystem, and the schools like the Performing Arts High School, that's like an option for kids who want to train. And these pipelines that are here aren't in most cities, so
Yeah.
I think making sure that those are preserved, but also building the cases for how important they are, how valuable they are, how there are people like us who like continue to pursue a life in it, and without these environments, like it might not have happened in the same way. So I just really want to say that I'm grateful for the Buffalo arts community, and I of course want to be a part of it continuing to grow.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you all. Part of why I think of you as some of our brightest contemporary stars is that you have this love of our community and this generosity towards it. And you're always all coming back in between all the crazy things. In Sidney, you're based here. And, you know, I think it's really wonderful. And I want to clarify, I think the arts are probably the strongest, most successful, wonderful thing that the city of Buffalo has always had. I see the film arts evolving, though. I've never seen a studio other than at this wonderful building. Until recently, they started cropping up. What are there, 3 new ones? A 4th one on the way, maybe? Maybe that's not something I was supposed to say on a mic. But yeah.
It's good. It's really
It's all
good.
great. It is really
'cause
great.
It makes space and infrastructure, and you know, as more locations, sound stages, post resources, as all of that opens up and incentivizes not only people to come, but also to get a thriving local crew community here, and also to have good paying jobs in the arts that can be pipelines to other opportunities. Like, one thing I love on sets, whether they're big or whether they're small, is that almost everyone, every PA, every sound mixer, everyone is there, but they also are like, but I really want to do this, or like, I'm here, but I also do this. And those kinds of environments to just like get on set for the first time, to, or the second or third or billionth, but like, it's, we all need set, we all need creative spaces, and it just helps everyone.
That's wonderful. Yeah, what you said, it reminded one of my favorite guests, other than the 3 of you, we ever had, was Talia Shire, who flew in on her own dime 2 days before her movie played, and was just so wonderful. We had such a blast with her. Talia, if you're out there, everyone at BIFF absolutely adores you. You are a jewel of a human being. But she spoke a lot about, you know, her education in film and how it was almost like this kind of like school, even though it wasn't. Everyone's working and ideally you're getting paid, but like everyone was kind of, evolving and growing off of each other. And I think having places for these things to occur is critical. You know, having a whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're almost at 6. So I just want to look to the audience. Is there anyone else? No? No? Okay. Well, you know, the 4 of us can talk. You know, like, we can definitely talk. But I think, we should probably wrap it up then. And
Right on.
I want to just thank all 3 of you for continually bringing amazing energy and work to this community and to the larger world. You're some of the most generous, talented human beings that we've had at the fest, and I hope you know that you are always more than welcome, and we love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I want to thank this beautiful audience as well, and I also want to thank this beautiful building and group of people here that run Buffalo Toronto Public Media, which has been our studio when there are no other studios and is still one of our finest here. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. And thank
Thank you.
so
Thank you for
much.
having us.